The only tool that we have that is fully within our control is our digital platform, our website, our social platforms. And very often they get the least amount of attention. They're put up and they aren't kept current. We don't use immersive technologies in the way that we often should. But if we cannot persuade, particularly the younger senior within our digital environments, that this could be a good fit for them, they will never walk in the door.
Welcome to Fresh Insights from Fresh Faces, the show for senior living sales and marketing leaders that want to make a big impact this year. So we're thrilled to have April LaMon from Lead Insight today, as well as Phil Smith, our VP of Solutions Consulting from Link Media 360. So April, to start off, could you please tell us about yourself and about Lead Insight?
Yes, I'm the co-founder of Lead Insight. We are a behavioral analytics firm. We have developed proprietary software that really helps us understand the consumer journey. And we apply that in two different ways. The first is to community websites to really understand anonymous visitor traffic and identify those people who have the highest potential to become new residents in that community. We've developed conversational marketing tools that help nurture that anonymous visitor into the lead base and into the sales process. The second tool that we've used our technology for is to develop a lifestyle management platform for residents and prospective residents of communities that is a native app platform that allows community building, community engagement, and for residents to take full advantage of the lifestyle promise our communities make.
And one of the big questions, and again, as we are data miners, data freaks, data geeks, however you want to put it, I'd love to really hear what you think is some of the opportunities or some of the tailwinds for our senior living sales and marketing leaders.
I mean, the most obvious is the demographics, right? We have an aging population. There's been tremendous innovations in healthcare and medicine that have allowed for greater longevity. The preponderance of wealth in our country is centered with the aging population as well. So we have more affluence than ever. I think the real opportunity that comes from these external factors is creating compelling solutions for younger seniors and for people that maybe don't even know that they need a solution. So really the opportunity, I think, there really lies in developing a deep understanding of what the younger senior is looking for. What do they want from their life? You know, we used to think about aging in 3 stages, right? We were sort of youth. We had sort of those middle years where we were educating ourselves and building careers, raising families, and then this third chapter of how we were going to live the extended periods of our life. And I think now we don't think in terms of 3. I mean, I'm 56 years old. I'm on number 3, but I still think I have 4 or 5 and maybe even 6 chapters to go. So how are we going to really create an environment that lets today's seniors and emerging seniors embrace a full life?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think, again, as some of the data shows, people are staying in place much longer. And it, probably has to be, with one of those external factors that you said, which is our advances in medicine are allowing us to be healthier longer, to work longer, to continue to stay in the home longer. And the struggle for a lot of our sales and marketing leaders is, how do we get our average age, underneath 80 at this point?
Right.
What are the 70-somethings looking for in retirement? Is it the big swimming pool? Is it, education? Is it community involvement? Kind of that what's next, I think, is a big question.
Yeah, and April, a question building off of that. Do you feel like in the communities you work with, their focus is on creating the demand, like really stimulating and driving the conversation and dialogue as to making these choices sooner? Or is it only capturing demand, those that already know they're in market? Like, where do you see the emphasis these days?
That's a great question, Jeff. I think there's the whole range of options. I think it's very interesting that we're seeing more industry curiosity in the marketplace. We're looking at communities partnering with universities and creating alliances there, whether it's in terms of attracting their alumni or retiring professors and administrators, or even more, creating innovative relationships with universities to open up continuing learning, opening up the campus to the senior population, both as a way to get them to engage with their students, which is a great intergenerational opportunity, but also kind of continue on this path of lifelong learning. So what I like seeing is this kind of industry curiosity beyond features. I mean, it's great to have a big swimming pool, but are you bringing maybe the swimming coach from the university over the seniors or master level competitive team? I mean, that's the sort of thing that I think this curiosity in our industry is trying to embrace. And that's just one example.
Right. No, I think those are great examples. I think that's a great point. As far as besides obviously the opportunities, do you see anything else besides maybe innovating? How can we better connect, or how can we better maybe educate the senior population that it is more than just amenities and swimming pools, and there are other things? There is life fulfillment that happens in your next chapters.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we have a balance of clients, and some like Human Good, formerly B Group, who invested very heavily in really creating awareness of the category. You know, as marketers, we tend to think about category awareness and then brand and product awareness. You know, this industry still suffers from a lack of category understanding or awareness, or really sort of a dated view of what the industry could be, should be, is in many cases today. You know, it used to be thought of as the facility or the place where people went away to, you know, sort of ease into their last days. But we work with so many communities that are striving to create within, you know, still a current model, a place where there can be fulfillment beyond sort of this putting people away to quietly go on into the next horizon. So when we look for ways for communities to help create that category awareness, we're very much advocates of the education aspect of what is senior living? Why does it exist? What can it provide for you? Very often we work with clients who are speaking directly to that prospective resident. I understand in care-based situations, there's an adult child involved. And I do want to kind of separate those two environments a bit, because I think the real opportunity to engage that younger senior is to engage them directly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And you know, again, I think it is important to make that separation because a lot of those seniors that are coming into independent living and are living those active lifestyles are making that decision fairly autonomous. It does, you know, family factors do contribute, but you know, again, I think that's a great point. And I guess maybe that rolls into the challenges. What are some of the challenges of actually physically connecting with, you know, that busy 65-year-old that's 5, 8, 10 years away from actually making the move? How do we start to connect with that individual who is going to make that decision, which is, you know, choice-based, not need-based?
Right. And those are the people that we see on our clients' websites. So our system allows us to track the anonymous visitor to the website over time. We do that with machine-based tracking. And then ultimately, when that person does convert, we can package together their whole experience prior to conversion, who they are, match them up within the CRM, and really start to do some very powerful analysis around what is that person's interest, when are they interested in making that kind of decision, and really enable the sales process to be much more personalized early on. I think that providing that education and those tools that allow that younger senior to engage with the community on their own terms is a very critical component that's missing on most senior living websites. In fact, we created an anonymous email platform where our system is really sort of the matchmaker or the Switzerland between the community and that resident, because today in most cases we force a conversion to start a conversation. We force a conversion in order to allow that visitor, that prospective resident, to start asking questions. And our younger seniors are more and more savvy that providing their contact information is going to result in contact that they may not be ready for. Right. And yet we don't provide them with a lot of alternative options. And that's one of the things that we're solving for with our clients.
So do you find, so there's a high degree of automation in your tools, but do you find, is it hard at the community level for a sales leader or a marketing leader at the community level to adopt all this insight? So are they excited with the insight? Are they surprised by the insight? Or is it really a training and education process to get them to say, like, look, you have this insight that you didn't have before? How's that process go?
That's a great question, Jeff, because it really has evolved. I come from outside of the industry, but saw a tremendous need for more transparency and visibility of what the online behaviors were for people looking at this category. I was used to tons and tons of data and understanding of behavioral analytics. So we've brought that to the senior living industry. And at first, frankly, 6 years ago, it was a steep uphill climb to try and explain how powerful this information could be. That, I'm happy to say, has shifted dramatically. So now when we start talking to folks about what's really happening on their, I think it's super excited. Like, I didn't know that before. And not just the knowing, but having tools that have been proven to really help streamline that experience for their anonymous traffic on their site. So we're seeing a lot more excitement, enthusiasm. We had a great call with Link Media last week, and they were thrilled. We have a client already in common and several in the works. So I think people really get it, and the marketing partner agencies are really starting to come on board and see how this could help them do just a really bang-up job for their clients.
Great.
What are some of the challenges? What are the things that we're really going to butt up against? Even with, if we were able to get our marketing and technology stack fully in order and we had user insights, what are some of those things that we still have to overcome as sales and marketing leaders?
I think we need to embrace the fluidity of this market, of this consumer. We try to put people down a single path to success, right? To a move in. When in reality, what we see behaviorally is a completely non-linear process for those people who are struggling, wrestling with this decision. And, every time we try and figure out how do we get them to convert in less than 10 seconds, or how do we keep them on a, one size fits all path, we're going to struggle, particularly with a very tech-savvy, web-savvy, younger senior population. So we need to adapt as an industry. Part of that is understanding that maybe we need to adapt on the product level, maybe that we need to adapt on the lifestyle level. What we're seeing a lot of is a need to adapt in how people connect. There are a lot of technology platforms in this industry that really tie people to a device. Our belief in our platform is that we want people, sort of counterintuitively, to spend as little time with our device, our platform, as possible. We want to make those connections quickly to both events and locations and people and opportunities for engagement, and then get them out and do things. The movie I always think about in this context is WALL-E. Do you remember that? Where people eventually sit in these big chairs and have a big gulp and they never move, right? They're constantly tethered to a device, to technology. We, in contrast, see technology as the great enabler to get people up moving, active, engaging, social. And I think that's what the younger senior and the future resident and even some of our younger current residents are really looking for from their communities.
Right. No, I think that's really interesting because we've got a client that actually has himself. His father's in assisted living actually, and doesn't ever, well, as he says, doesn't ever put his hearing aids in, so he can't hear the phone when they call. So they have a smart home device that he can drop in, and it's a video screen, and so he's able to actually physically drop into his father's room, check in, make sure he's doing okay, and also get his attention and say, hey, put your hearing aids in, give us a call, we need to talk to you. So I think that, again, I think that technology thing is very interesting because I think it does allow us to maybe even advance our own communities a little bit, and some of the offerings that we have to get our younger seniors that are a little bit more tech savvy connected. But I think it also, like you said, I think it is the great connector. It is the great enabler. It allows us to find an event very quickly, RSVP, and go get it. I guess as far as some of those challenges as lifestyle challenges, we do a lot of interviews with residents, and a lot of residents, especially at CCRC, say, we're not particularly jazzed about hearing a community is like a cruise ship where everything is done for us.
Right.
So how do we, from the data side, how do we really help inform our communities on some of those operational changes that they may be able to make just by the feedback we get from anonymous website visitors?
Yeah, I think a real key aspect of this is this bifurcation of need versus lifestyle. If you're a resident and you in your community that offers your residents a complete lifestyle, essentially within a single building or a very narrow footprint, a web-based platform where everything, sort of is on that screen, like the example you gave of the camera going back and forth between someone and maybe a more isolated environment from their family, encouraging more social action. I think there's a lot of great innovation in that space. I think the space that is still wide open is for that younger senior whose life does not entirely revolve around the community that they live in. And that's, for many CCRCs, they need to consider the possibilities that the best lifestyle offering that they can give their younger seniors or that they aspire to is great connection beyond their physical community footprint. How do we as an industry really make it a much more robust offering than just, and understand that it doesn't all have to come from the community. It can be that connectivity to the surrounding area that really is what creates that vibrancy. Is it helping people get involved in the schools? Is it letting them know what's happening outside of the gate? What are those things? And very often the residents already know it. So how do we really embrace what residents know and make that available and share that information more broadly to neighbors and prospective residents as well?
Yeah, great. And I know that we've talked a lot about, different recommendations from marketing technology, even, kind of some of those offerings that we have. What are some of the recommendations that we could help, senior living marketers, maybe what data is important? Where can we, find some of those insights, or how can we gather some insights from our current residents or potential residents? What are some of those recommendations that you might have, April?
I think they come in a couple of different formats. Within the senior living site itself, we know that the online researcher is moving through a series of questions, not in a linear way necessarily, but they're trying to wrestle with things like, where will I live? Can I afford it? What will I do all day? Who already lives there? Will I like those people? Who runs the place? I mean, that is really the nutshell of the anonymous visitor experience on senior living websites. Some do a better job of answering those questions or providing that information than others. Even when the information's there, this is a category where people have little to no experience shopping. Okay, so they don't know what they don't know. And that's where Prompture, our personalization engine, helps elevate content for that really high quality visitor who hasn't explored some content that we know has been very helpful to people who have moved in the past. So using those behavioral models to help shape and personalize the experience for those visitors is really critical to fueling the lead base with high quality, qualified leads. We have no clients that come to us and say, we want more leads. They say, we want more quality, qualified leads. And if you don't let people do their homework on their own terms, they're not going to get there by just simply slapping a form in front of them. You know, we need to help them get educated and enter the lead base when they're ready and when they've learned everything that they need to know to believe that that community could be a good fit for them.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that their website and their broader web platform, they have to illustrate what it's like to live there, what it's like to work there, really use that to fully express. So instead of walking in through the front door to get the feeling and the experience, how can they translate and transfer that feeling and experience using digital tools and techniques?
That's exactly right. And if you think about all of the tools that we have as marketers available to us, the only tool that we have that is fully within our control is our digital platform, our website, our social platforms. And very often they get the least amount of attention. They're put up and they aren't kept current. We don't use immersive technologies in the way that we often should. But if we cannot persuade, particularly the younger senior within our digital environments, that this could be a good fit for them, they will never walk in the door. And we undervalue the power of the tool that we have. It's not, putting an ad in a newspaper or a magazine where we're competing with other messages. It's not a direct mail piece that winds up in a stack of mail that someone may or may not spend the time with. And I'm not saying that those aren't valued or valuable tactics. What I'm saying, at a strategic level, we undervalue and we under-resource the one tool that you have 100% control over the message and in the environment and the experience to compel people.
Yep. That was really well said.
Can you tell I'm passionate about that?
Yeah, that's a great place to wrap up, because that is an amazing insight and you are so spot on. I mean, Phil, you probably have this conversation every day, correct?
Well, yeah, I geeked out on that a little bit, April. That was really awesome. I think that I couldn't have said it better myself. I think, some of the things that we're seeing in the space is that 60% of our actual leads are coming from the online space, yet less than 30% of our budget is allocated there. And again,
and let me give you another statistic that's very powerful. For those who move into our clients' communities, 80% of their website research is done before they provide their contact information. So 80% of their experience on the site. And if you're not taking advantage of the potential to shape, nurture, and compel that anonymous visitor, I'm just afraid that you're missing out on an opportunity to have a really great new resident and member of the community join you.
Great. Well, April, we really appreciate the amazing insights you've shared today. We thank you so much. This has been very informative. And could you tell our audience where to find out more about you and Lead Insight?
Sure. You can find out more about us at leadinsight.com, LEADINSITE. You'll find a phone number where you can reach us and email addresses. And we would love to have an opportunity to talk more about what we do with you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, April. Thank you, Phil. And thank you, everyone, for joining Fresh Insights from Fresh Faces.